Shemai pawb. Hello everybody, welcome to my wild Welsh garden. I've just realised that I often don't do an introduction to these videos, and so those of you who are maybe new to the channel might not know what on earth is going on. So my name is Isabel and I live here at the top of the Swansea Valley in Wales, and I'm wilding or rewilding my garden depending on how you want to say it. I've been a conventional gardener all my life, but this last couple of years I've been gardening in a different way. I've been becoming a wild gardener, and basically what I'm trying to do is to garden in a way which is more in keeping with a natural ecosystem and therefore better for wildlife. And the reason for that is that nature and wildlife are in catastrophic decline in the UK, and particularly here in Wales. And so I just wanted to do my bit really to try and make things better. And obviously me on my own isn't going to make the slightest bit of difference, but if all of us who had gardens just gardened in maybe a wilder way or became wild gardeners, then, you know, maybe together we could make a difference. So that's the plan, really. That's why I'm making these videos, for anybody who's doing the same, who's interested, or anybody who's maybe thinking of trying to make their garden better for wildlife. And all I would say right at the beginning is that those people who think that wild gardening means just not doing anything, just stepping back and letting nature do its own thing, it's really a misunderstanding, because I garden just as much as I ever did as a conventional gardener. I just do different things in maybe different ways and at different times of the year. So I've got a project on at the moment. I'm making a teeny tiny forest right in the centre of my garden. So I'll bring you up to date with that. And I'll just also show you some of the wildlife that's around in the garden at the moment. So without further ado, on with the show. It's just after dawn and the blackbirds are congregating, waiting for their breakfast. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the cherry tree. There was one in the willow, it's just broken a branch, thank you. One on the trellis there, and one on the trellis here. There's some blackbirds over by the summer house. A little bit wary about coming down onto the lawn because I'm standing here. And also I think there's a dominant bird here that is chasing the others away. Because I'm standing here. Oh, there's the corvids. Over the last several days I've been clearing the ground here in this central bed to plant up the teeny tiny forest. The first day after Storm Dara, I was completely surrounded by the sound of chainsaws. Yeah, the men from the council were really on it, clearing the roads of the fallen trees, because there's been a lot around here, a lot of trees down. I can't do so much each day because my back isn't brilliant, but I do a little bit, an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and gradually, over the days, I've gradually got it cleared. And whenever I've done a bit of clearing, the robins always come down to see if he could find something to eat. In fact, on this day, there were 2 robins having a bit of a standoff as to quite whose territory it was. And this is a dunnock who's also come to see if he can find some food. There's a lot of robins in the garden at the moment. In previous years, I've usually seen one, maybe not even every day, very occasionally two. But at the moment, it seems like every time I look out of the window, there's at least two robins in the garden, sometimes three. And I would love to think that they were my babies. So it's taken a while, considering it's not a very big area of ground. But I've been trying to enjoy the process. When I was younger, I was very much focused on getting things done, getting things finished and sort of achieving something. But now, as I'm older, I'm trying to be a bit more relaxed about things and just take my time and enjoy the process. I'm just enjoying everything that's been going on around me. But there's always little birds to watch, either on the ground like this or in the trees. The sparrows all chattering and arguing with each other. And there's always a plant to look at, like these fabulous rose hips in the sunshine the other day. And this little pink willow seems a bit confused, thinks it's spring and it's producing pussy willows. So now the centre of the bed is clear enough for me to plant the trees, and the bug snug has grown significantly. And, you know, while I was digging it and clearing it, I was thinking, why didn't I just put cardboard down and a load of compost and just plant the trees into that? But as I've discovered, disturbance is actually good. Disturbance is good for the ground because it allows other things to move in and colonise. Well, the process isn't finished yet. I've still got to plant the trees. So I'm going to go and get some of the hazel logs from over the road and mark out the middle part that I'm going to plant up with the trees, which is going to be about 2 metres by 3 metres, and also have a go at making my standing deadwood structure for right in the middle. So that's the job for this afternoon. Do you ever have that experience of sort of hitting a wall when you're doing something physical? Yes, well, I did that yesterday. I was bringing these logs over from over the road and putting them on the ground to mark out where I'm going to plant the trees. And yes, I just got to the point where I thought, oh, do you know, I can't do another thing. So I've got to fill in the gap, and then I'm going to make the standing deadwood structure. So the reason for this is that it's all different sorts of habitat. Deadwood lying on the ground is habitat, and also standing deadwood is habitat, but for different creatures. And I'm hoping that it will be home to animals, but also to different plants. On this trellis here is an old azalea bush that sort of died the death several years ago. And when I dug it up, I thought, what can I do with it? I want to do something sort of creative. And I just put this arch up here. And I thought, I know, I'll just tie it onto the arch to make it a bit more interesting. And it's been completely colonised by these fabulous lichens and mosses. Because those of you who've been watching my channel for a while will know that I live in an area that was originally temperate rainforest, and that's characterised by these things called bryophytes, which are plants that live on other plants, which here is mostly mosses and lichens, although you do also get ferns that grow on the trees as well. So yes, that's the plan, that all this deadwood and then eventually the trees as they get bigger will be colonised by these lovely mosses and lichens, and actually I will end up with a teeny tiny temperate rainforest in the centre of my garden. How cool is that going to be? So I've dug a hole. The problem is that I've hit subsoil and it gets very stony, and there are some quite big stones in the bottom there, I think you can see. But at its deepest point, it's about 18 inches. So I can't go any deeper. So that'll have to do. And I've got these 4 logs here. These 3 are quite new. They were cut down last winter. But that one I picked up in the woods, and it's already covered in lovely mosses and lichens. So the next job is put the poles in the hole, arrange them artistically, if I can get in touch with my inner artist, and I think have a cup of coffee. Yeah, what do you think? And the sun's come out just to show it off. It is actually quite tall, isn't it? Which does make me wonder about storms. But the thing is, conventionally, if you're making a garden structure like this, you would concrete it in. But if you're a wild gardener, you know, you want the fact that the wood is in contact with the soil. That's very important. So there's no concrete there. They're just sort of supporting each other in the soil. So fingers crossed it survives. And of course the little robins come just to check everything's still okay. Okay, so here are all my little trees. Those are the 4 little oak trees that I've grown myself from acorns that I've picked up on my walks. And then I've got 2 hazel, a silver birch and a blackthorn. The thing is, I bought these as collections. I think there were 3 collections of 4, because they're cheaper that way. And also there was a deal on. There was a Blackthorn Friday deal, not a Black Friday, a Blackthorn Friday. So I probably wouldn't have bought the blackthorn, because I have got a couple in the garden, well, several actually, in the hedge already. So, and the silver birch, I have got another one in a pot, but it's bigger. It's 2 or 3 years old. And I think the whole thing about a tiny forest is that they're all planted at the same size, so none of them have an advantage over the other, and they all grow up sort of together really. And then I've got 2 wild cherry, I've got 2 field maple, 2 rowan, and then down here I've got 2 crabapple, 2 goat willow, and an alder buckthorn. And again, I have got another alder buckthorn which is bigger than that, but not as big as the one that I planted in the hedge. And I sort of toyed with the idea of putting that in the tiny forest, but I think I want that to go over the road. And so the next stage is to just space them out, not in rows, not equally distant, and plant them. So that's what I'm going to do now. So there we are, the tiny forest, the teeny tiny forest is all planted up. I've left the labels on so I know what they are. I struggle to identify trees when they're in leaf, never mind when they're tiny like this and still in bud. And the 4 that don't have labels, of course, are the oak trees. So yeah, I'm super excited about this. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens, watching them grow, and increasing the biodiversity of my garden significantly. So yeah, happy lady today. It's next morning and we had some rain in the night and a bit of wind, and everything seems to have survived the night. So very pleased about that. And I've put Ivy the Woodsprite right in the middle so she can look after the trees, because they're so very tiny. She can look after the trees and help them to grow big and strong. So it just remains for me to thank you again for visiting my wild Welsh garden. And please like and subscribe if you're interested in following me, and if you want to know the next thrilling instalment of my adventures in my garden. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Hwyl am y tro!